Welcome to Three Men and a Little Lady. A few months ago, we put together for International Women's Day 5 mums who were talking about what it was like living with autism. And when the video was actually shared with everybody, a lot of the fathers started to say, well, what about us? So that made me think. So what I did was I spoke to 3 of the charity champion fathers. We spoke to Mick, we spoke to Andy, and we spoke to Sanjay. And they all have 3 sons on the autism spectrum, age 5, 12 and 13. What I wanted to do was for them to share what it's like to live with autism and to share their experiences. Okay, thank you guys for coming along to share some of your personal stories about your sons. So having a child on the autism spectrum, how has it impacted on your family life, as in your marriage, with your siblings? So what sort of things are you finding difficult before autism, if you like?
Just having a normal family life is virtually impossible because you have the little mood swings, and having Isabella, who's a lot younger, she tends to get the brunt of any sort of anger and violence, and obviously social workers getting involved and stuff makes it really hard to get a normal family life anymore.
I think it affects the simplest of things. When my wife and I decided that perhaps we should go out to dinner or lunch, or perhaps even for a walk, it becomes more of a military manoeuvre in terms of considering where we're going, what sensory inputs will be there for our son. Would he have a meltdown? Would it just be easier to stay indoors?
Yeah, I think from me and Marla personally, we have gelled really well since we discovered that Owen was on the spectrum, and it's also pulled our marriage together.
The daily event of taking my son to school, initially I found traumatic and very draining. The parents looking at me when my son was physically restrained, a 5-year-old child being physically restrained and taken into school by his teacher and his carer, watching my son being torn away from me and taken into the classroom and having to walk away and wonder how he would be, and wonder how he would be throughout his school career, and wonder how he would be as an adult. And it's that unknown factor that I think scares us as fathers.
Am I satisfied with the level of inclusion in education and the workplace for autistic people? Not really, because at the moment we're going through some real turmoil with my son. He's on his 3rd exclusion from schools now, and some of these schools are supposed to be special schools, and at the moment the education system is failing us dramatically.
Once you know that your son is not able to cope in mainstream school, that's when the problem starts. We had to fight for our basic rights and ended up going to 2 tribunals to ensure that Aaron went to the school that could meet his needs, and we were supported again by the charity AKO and by my parents throughout this difficult chapter in our lives. My late father supported us and always maintained throughout his life that if you don't help your children and grandchildren in life, then what's the purpose of life? In moments like this is when you need your family the most. And it's sad to say that my parents were the only one during this trying period. Others just turn a blind eye. It's simply not good enough. Action speaks louder than words.
One other question. Have you found that you've actually changed yourself since your sons have been diagnosed? Because I can't remember who Anna is anymore.
I'm a lot more patient with other people's children.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it gives you an entirely new perspective. I think you can identify your own inbuilt prejudice that you didn't realise you had, and you suddenly go back in time and, why did I look at that child that I thought was a bit odd on the train or at the bus stop? Well, now I'll take time and I'll stop and I'll interact with them and I'll talk to them, because you realise that there's almost a natural fear, or I don't like using the word prejudice, of people that we don't fully understand. And don't accept everything, don't accept all the diagnosis. It's a very, very complex thing, and I think that look at your child is actually happy. That's what I would say to any dad. That was the thing that gave me solace.
Yeah, I don't think there's some exact formula that you can pick up, because every child is different in their own right. And I was in total denial for not even 1 year, 2 years, and longer, because I was really angry at first because he wasn't able to talk. And I said to my wife, what do the authorities know? I know my child better than they do. But it's not the be-all and end-all. You know, each child is unique in their own right, and you've got to find out what strengths they have. It's not all about negativity. You know, once you establish what their quirks are, then you need to deal with them in a positive manner.
Don't do what I did and bury your head in the sand for the first 2 or 3 years saying, no, they're all wrong, it's not my son, he's just a little bit different. Talk to the people around you, make use of all your friends that are going to offer their help. I'm fortunate enough that with the people that we've met recently, we've met some amazing people that have been an absolute godsend. Some of them work for AKO, some of them are just people that we've met through functions and stuff. Be ready to talk to people, don't be scared, don't be the big man and try and hide it all. I spent 2 years struggling, but now we're actually getting through the other side of it, and I'm ready to fight for everything now rather than bury my head in the sand.
On my son's first day at mainstream school, I was understandably quite terrified. And I took my 5-year-old into the classroom and he looked at me and he couldn't tell me how he felt. And I hoped he understood how I felt. I just told him, don't worry, everything would be fine. And we took him in, and the school were kind enough to allow me to stay in the classroom. Harrison first had sensory overload. He wanted to hit the other children. He didn't understand sharing or playing with the other children, and I could feel that my heart was breaking. It was only when his carer came up to him, kneeled down and made eye contact with him and said to him, Harrison, use your words. Such a simple phrase. And suddenly Harrison connected and he started to talk and explain to the carer what he wanted to do. And it was just like a miracle. It was one of the most joyous and amazing things I've ever seen. And to confirm to me that inside there somewhere is my little boy who can articulate.
Our son has brought a lot of joy and delight, which has led us onto a journey in life, and I'm a firm believer that everything happens in life for a reason. So be strong, anything is possible, and never give up.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed Three Men and a Little Lady, and thank you to Mick, to Sanjay and to Andy for sharing their experiences as raw as they have been. If you are a father or a parent of a young person with autism and you're looking for some advice or you want some information, please contact us on www.annakennedyonline.com. Thank you very much.